So Tiny Dancer gave a patronizing, officer-friendly speech at Malcolm X yesterday to 300 sycophants flapping their flippers in response to his, juvenile, we're going to respect each other, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Here are the outcomes I'd like. Everyone living in peace and harmony is co-commercial rhetoric that you hear, it was a facsimile of what President Obama does. Give you a little taste of it.
To have any chance of stopping them from killing each other and the innocent bystanders, we have to stop them from giving up on themselves and their future.
What does that mean?
Why is he crying? I mean,
what does that mean?
So emotional.
How do you stop them from giving up on themselves and their future? What is this, Captain Kangaroo? Here's something.
Well, yeah, because he's a three-part plan: enforcement, investment, and prevention. Just like what Officer Friendly did when it came to Indian Grove Elementary School, and those, he told us about those three things.
Yeah, it's going to look great on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you want to do something about kids not giving up on themselves and kids not acting in an ignorant, predatory manner, why don't you give them access to better schools? What have you done in the last 6 years about that? I mean, I know your kids go to lab schools, Tiny Dancer, so they're squared away. What about the kids on the south side and the west side? What about the kids that don't get to go to Peyton or lab schools? What about our Francis Parker? Yeah. What about that? What have you done there?
But he did pledge $36 million for these mentorship programs. People like one club is called Becoming a Man. That's the name of it, and that's going to solve the problem.
I don't know the work product of that organization, so I'm not going to comment on it specifically. But here's what we know historically: these, investments in the community. You know what they are? They're payoffs for people that are there clapping for the politician du jour, whether it's Daley or now Tiny Dancer. Here's more of his grand vision for a safer Chicago.
We need to strengthen policing. We need to strengthen prevention. We need to strengthen penalties. And we need to strengthen parenting. We need to bridge the divide between the community and those sworn to protect them.
Nice alliteration. And that's about all I can say about that speech.
He's got to stop crying.
Pathetic.
Get a hold of himself.
It's insulting. That speech yesterday, to me, just one man's opinion, one Chicago resident's opinion, it's insulting. It is him pretending to do something. It is him emoting instead of governing. And there's a big difference. And I'm not going to do anything, in my estimation, as just a civilian's opinion, to quell the violence in the city. Now, hiring more police officers, that's part of it, but only part of it. And for more reaction, as well as in particular some of the specifics that were advanced and have been advanced over the last several weeks on the Chicago police, we're pleased to be joined again by our friend Dean Angelo Sr. He's the president of Chicago FOP Lodge 7. Dean, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
So in terms of the hiring of new officers and the promoting of officers, I mean, this is happening concurrent with the prospects of just about as many officers retiring. So net, is this going to provide the additional resources that are needed to increase the peace?
Well, as long as it continues and they overproject, like they said they're going to overproject, at some point in time they will catch up. It's going to take, I believe, the numbers are supposed to be close to 13.5 by the end of 2018. The academy is only so big. There's only so many classrooms. If you're promoting detectives, and that's a 7-week program, and you have recruits in there, and that's a 6-month program. And sergeants are 5 to 6 weeks of training, so you have a lot of bodies in that building. Unless they go to multiple shifts, it's going to take that amount of time to get those bodies through that building.
So how long? I mean, when it's all said and done, a year before this comes to fruition?
Well, it depends on how quickly they start. The detectives have been waiting for several months for the test to be posted. Mm-hmm. Sergeants are on their list. It's already out there. People know who's going to be in the next class, except for the other selections. But there is a nonstop attempt to recruit or get recruits in there, but it's a difficult process. You have to pass the background check, the drug check, the criminal history, the polygraph, the power test, and I believe every group that tried the power test, if you had 80 to 90 people, you got about 40 to 45 people that successfully completed that. So you're eliminating your pool by 50% just for the power test.
Just give me your review of the kind of the sum total of his remarks and proposals yesterday. I mean, coming 6 years in to his reign, and all of a sudden he's real serious about violence on the streets.
Well, I don't see how you cannot be serious about the violence on the street in our city because of what we read every day or what we see every weekend. We've been calling for these numbers, and actually, when I got in office a couple of years ago, I said I'd like to see 2,000 additional officers. So getting towards the 1,000 number is a step in the right direction. I think it's something that not only is it important to the members that are out there overworked and working their days off regularly, it's also important to offset that lack of appearance, on the corner, the beat, or the corner officer, the foot officer, and getting that one-to-one, or at least the perception of a more one-to-one type of a appearance. So you put more bodies out there, you put more squad cars out there, the perception is there's more of us. And is that a deterrent? It's not going to cure everything, but it can be considered a deterrent. So it is something that I believe we've been asking for, and it's a move in the right direction.
One thing that's also was reported in the last couple of weeks is about this de-escalation training, this mandatory de-escalation training that Chicago police officers are now required to undergo. Describe that so we can understand what it is, and if this is something that will benefit policing in Chicago, or if this is window dressing.
Well, it's kind of like things we've been doing all along. It's in a new box. It's wrapped up. It's in a new delivery system. It went from talking people down to deflection to verbal judo, and now it's de-escalation. So there's a marketplace out there for new training procedures in law enforcement and in any business, as a matter of fact, that you kind of repackage things for the time frame that you're dealing with, and this is the latest approach to getting people to recognize there are alternatives to hands-on policing. But we've always done that. We've always had the opportunities to talk someone down or to do the verbal judo, and you deflect their aggressions you attempt into a positive direction to get some type of compliance without having to put hands on, or even take it a step further, tase or even have to use your weapon. So it is something that I think training wise people should continually go through to get the latest approach, the latest technology, and exposed to something that they did not have when they were in the academy. So bringing guys and girls through that building throughout their career, I think, is important for them to continue. It's what I said to the DOJ back in December before they got here. We need more of that, and this is probably the first department-wide approach to doing something like that.
So Dean Emanuel, during his speech, stressed the importance of supporting Chicago police, but he said, respect is a two-way street, that police officers should not be taunted while trying to do their job as much as officers cannot belittle citizens who come to them for help. Do you think that's a little disrespectful?
Well, it could be considered that. I think that there's a level of, attitude, more or less, when a police officer just gets out of their car right now. When you're in that uniform, it tends to put someone in a different state of mind, as opposed to, here's the police, let's, straighten up, fly right, and see what they want. Now it's almost your chance to engage, and we're seeing that a lot more. How do you reach the population that feels that this is an opportunity to confront the officers just because they're there and they're in uniform? And how do you get that population to then turn around and say, what's up? are you looking for me? Or, it's a different segment of society that we're dealing with out there. These aren't, excuse me, young man, would you mind stepping this way so I can converse with you for a while? Some of these guys are some bad guys.
And even,
So how do you approach
the story 2 days ago, it still breaks my heart. A 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old boys, home invasion and rape. They all three raped the one in the Roseland neighborhood. I mean, that is just that is so unbelievably sickening to me. What they did to her, and that is just unbelievable.
I mean, it really. I think that people don't have an appreciation for what the officers are confronting. What you're trying to describe, Dean. I mean, you. It seems to me you literally have like Clockwork Orange, like bands of thugs going around committing these horrific crimes.
Yeah, well, you've got those groups that are out there, and they are intent on scoring or looking for a mark or looking for a victim, and they play that system. And there are others that are exposed to it for their entire childhood. So becoming involved is not that big of a step. It's that cycle of violence theory. That if you see it, you would think you wouldn't want to be into it, but you eventually participate and try to take it a step further. I'm trying to get the elected officials to drive around with these officers so that they can see what the officer sees. And I'm trying, whether they're in Springfield or whether they're in the city council, and it's very difficult. You would think they would jump at the opportunity, but it's very difficult for us to get them to get in the car. And I think it's important for them to not put on, suit and tie, but dress down, put on the vest, get in the back, and see what these kids see out there, these officers see out there every day.
I'm doing a ride along next Friday night, actually, with the Chicago Police, and I'm looking forward to it. Now I'm going to be dressed like one of those bomb defuse guys from Hurt Locker. So I'm ready to go.
You'll bring your body camera though.
Well, that's right. Yeah, and look, I'm willing to, if it helps Ed Burke get in the back of a squad car, I'm willing to add to his security detail. I mean, probably what some of these people think is even with police officers, they're less secure than their normal security detail. So maybe that's the problem with politicians. Before we let you go, Dean, any comments? I don't know that you know any more than we do in the news reports, but any comments on, in particular, the Tulsa shooting in which the officer has now been charged with manslaughter?
Well, I spoke about it last night, and the process of collecting and identifying and processing any evidence has been quick, to say the least. And, we saw what happened in Baltimore when the charges were leveled against those six officers. This is a different situation. There's video on it of the actual incident. Things have to play out. It's going to be in a courtroom, at some point in time. So, we'll see what happens. But it's that political rush to resolution that is dangerous sometimes. You have to let the evidence take you to a conclusion. So if they have the evidence, if they have the information necessary to generate those charges, then, that's part of what's going to come out in court. It's that leap of faith that you try to, just to appease the populace, and you say, well, we're going to charge somebody so we can get the demonstrations to stop or at least not be as violent. And I think that's where we have to be cautious.
All right. He is Dean Angelo, Sr., Chicago Fraternal Order Police Lodge 7 President. Dean, thanks always for joining us. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.